The dark secret behind happiness. It's not what you think. All right, let's get real. If you've ever felt like happiness is just out of reach, like there's always something more you need to finally feel fulfilled, you're not alone. The truth is, most of us are searching for happiness in all the wrong places: luxuries, fame, the approval of others. And let's be honest, we're more stressed than ever. But here's the kicker. What if I told you that ancient philosophers, way back in Greece and Rome, actually cracked the code on happiness? Yep, I'm talking about the Stoics. These guys were onto something, and their wisdom is just as relevant today as it was over 2,000 years ago. So sit tight, because we're diving deep into the Stoic secrets that could completely transform the way you approach life if you're brave enough to try them. Stop doing what you can't control. Okay, picture this. Life is unpredictable. Stuff happens, big stuff, small stuff, and everything in between that's completely beyond our control. But here's the Stoic twist. Instead of stressing out about all that chaos, what if you could just let it go? Epictetus, one of the big names in Stoicism, once said, "Don't wish for things to happen as you want them to, but wish for them to happen as they do happen, and you'll be fine." Sounds simple, right? But it's a total game changer. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. Normally, you'd be pulling your hair out, cursing the red lights, and spiraling into a stress vortex. But what if, instead, you could just accept it? Realize that this situation is completely out of your hands and focus on what you can control, like how you'll handle the meeting once you get there. Maybe use the time to mentally prepare or just enjoy some music. Letting go of the need to control everything doesn't just reduce stress. It's like setting yourself free from an invisible cage. And here's the crazy part: when you focus only on what you can control, you'll find that you actually have more power than you ever imagined. Your actions, your attitudes, those are 100% you. That's where your real strength lies. This is why your expectations aren't working. Here's another truth bomb from the Stoics. It's not just about accepting what you can't control. It's also about understanding that your expectations are often the source of your unhappiness. We all have expectations of ourselves, of others, of how life should be. But the Stoics knew that these expectations are like little time bombs of disappointment waiting to explode. Epictetus nailed it when he said we should be laser focused on our own actions and attitudes, not on external events or other people's opinions. Think about it. How often do we stress out about things we have zero control over? Whether it's the weather ruining our plans, someone not texting back, or worrying about what others think of us, it's all out of our hands. And yet, we let these things dictate our mood, our happiness. What if you could let all that go? What if you could say, "I'm going to do my best, and whatever happens, happens"? That's not just a mindset shift, it's a superpower. When you stop letting your happiness depend on external factors, you take back control of your life. You become unshakable. Stop chasing happiness outside of yourself. We've all been there, thinking that the next big purchase, that promotion, or even just a few more likes on Instagram will finally make us happy. But here's the Stoic truth. Happiness isn't something you find out there. It's something you cultivate within. Seneca, one of the Og Stoics, was all about this. He said, "The greatest wealth is a poverty of desires." Now, that might sound a little extreme, but the message is clear. Real happiness comes from wanting less, not more. It's about finding contentment in the simple things, in what you already have, rather than constantly craving what you don't. Let's break it down. Think about the last time you bought something you really wanted. Maybe it was a new phone, a piece of clothing, or that gadget you've been eyeing for months. Remember the excitement, the anticipation? But then, a few days or weeks later, that feeling fades, and suddenly you're looking for the next thing to make you happy. It's a never-ending cycle, and it's exhausting. The Stoics would tell you that true happiness comes from breaking that cycle. It's about appreciating the little things: the warmth of the sun on your face, a good meal, time spent with loved ones. When you start finding joy in these simple pleasures, you'll realize that you don't need all that extra stuff. And that's when you'll start to feel truly free. No one has told you this yet, but discipline is freedom. This might blow your mind, but the Stoics believe that happiness isn't about doing whatever you want, whenever you want. True freedom, according to them, comes from discipline. Yeah, you heard that right. It's about mastering your desires, your impulses, and living a life that's aligned with your values and long-term goals. Epictetus was a big advocate for this idea. He believed that the person who's mastered their desires and impulses is truly free. Think about it. How often do we let our impulses control us? Whether it's eating that extra slice of cake, scrolling endlessly through social media, or binge-watching Netflix instead of working on that project. We all have moments where we let our impulses get the better of us. But here's the thing: when you give in to every impulse, you're not really free. You're a slave to your desires. True freedom comes from discipline, from being able to say no when you need to, from making choices that align with your long-term happiness rather than giving in to every fleeting temptation. Imagine having that kind of control over your life, being able to resist the things that don't serve you and focus on what truly matters. It's not about being a robot or denying yourself pleasure. It's about making choices that lead to a deeper, more lasting happiness. Face your fears, seriously do it. The Stoics were all about embracing challenges, not running from them. They believed that adversity is the ultimate teacher. Seneca said, "We don't get to choose our hardships, but we can choose how we respond to them." And that's powerful because it flips the script on how we usually think about problems. Think about the last time you faced a challenge. Maybe it was a difficult conversation, a big project at work, or even a personal crisis. What was your first reaction? If you're like most people, it was probably to avoid it, to find a way out, or to wish it would just go away. But here's the Stoic twist. What if, instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, you started seeing them as opportunities? Opportunities to grow, to learn, to become stronger. That's how the Stoics saw it. They believed that every challenge, every hardship, was a chance to develop your character, to become more resilient. And when you start seeing life's difficulties this way, you'll stop fearing them. Instead, you'll embrace them. It's like leveling up in a video game. The tougher the boss, the greater the reward. Every time you face a fear, you gain experience, you become stronger, more capable. And that's something that stays with you long after the challenge has passed. So next time you're facing something tough, remember it's not there to break you, it's there to make you stronger. Accept mortality, live fully. Okay, I know this might sound a little heavy, but stick with me. The Stoics were big on thinking about death not in a morbid way, but in a way that actually enhances your life. They believed that accepting mortality is the key to living fully. And when you think about it, it makes sense. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who was also a Stoic philosopher, wrote about how death is just a natural part of life. He saw it as something to be accepted, not feared. He even compared it to the way we grow out of childhood. It's just another phase of life. When you accept that death is inevitable, you stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You start living with intention, focusing on what's truly important. Imagine living each day as if it could be your last, not in a reckless, YOLO kind of way, but with a deep appreciation for every moment. How would you treat the people in your life? What would you spend your time on? What would you stop worrying about? Accepting your mortality can be incredibly freeing. It strips away all the nonsense, all the petty concerns, and leaves you with a clear sense of what really matters. When you stop fearing death, you start living. And that's one of the greatest gifts the Stoics can give us. Cultivate virtue, your happiness depends on it. Now let's talk about virtue. The Stoics believed that virtue is the only thing that truly matters. They weren't just talking about being a good person in a vague sense. They had a specific idea of what virtue meant. For them, it was all about wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. These were the big four, the pillars of a good life. Seneca said it best, virtue is the only good, and everything else is irrelevant. And here's the thing, when you focus on being a virtuous person, everything else in your life starts to fall into place. It's not about being perfect, but about striving to be better every day. Wisdom is about making good decisions, understanding the world around you, and learning from your experiences. Justice is about treating others fairly and with respect. Courage is about facing your fears, standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. And moderation is about balance, avoiding extremes, and living a life of harmony. When you cultivate these virtues, you're not just living a good life, you're building a foundation for true happiness. Because happiness, according to the Stoics, isn't about pleasure or comfort. It's about living in alignment with your values and principles, even when it's difficult. It's about knowing that, at the end of the day, you did the right thing, that you lived with integrity. And that kind of satisfaction is deeper and more lasting than any fleeting pleasure. But here's the beauty of it. When you focus on virtue, you naturally start attracting the things that most people chase after. You'll find that you're more respected, that your relationships improve, and that you have a greater sense of purpose. And all of that leads to a happiness that's not dependent on external circumstances, but rooted in who you are as a person. Stop comparing yourself. This could cost you your happiness. Now, let's get real about something that plagues almost all of us: comparison. In today's world, where social media is king, it's easier than ever to fall into the trap of comparing your life to others. But guess what? The Stoics would tell you that this is one of the quickest ways to lose your happiness. Seneca warned against the dangers of comparison. He believed that when we measure our worth by what others have or what they're doing, we're setting ourselves up for disappointment and envy. And it's true, there will always be someone with more money, a better job, or a seemingly perfect life. But here's the thing, none of that matters. The Stoics taught that the only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. Are you better, wiser, stronger? That's what counts. When you focus on your own growth and progress, you stop caring about what others are doing. You become content with your journey, and that's where true happiness lies. So the next time you catch yourself scrolling through Instagram, feeling that pang of envy or inadequacy, remember this: their path is not your path. Focus on your own journey, your own growth, and let go of the need to measure up to others. You'll find that you're much happier when you're not constantly comparing yourself to someone else. Practice gratitude. It's the secret ingredient to happiness. Here's another Stoic secret that's incredibly powerful: gratitude. It's easy to take things for granted, especially the small, everyday blessings that make life sweet. But the Stoics believe that practicing gratitude is essential for happiness. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote extensively about the importance of appreciating what you have. He encouraged reflecting on the good things in life, no matter how small, and expressing gratitude for them. And this wasn't just about saying thank you, it was about truly feeling grateful, deep down, for the blessings in your life. Think about it. When was the last time you really appreciated the simple things? The food on your table, the roof over your head, the love of your family and friends? When you start focusing on these things, you realize just how rich your life already is. And that realization brings a profound sense of peace and contentment. Gratitude shifts your focus from what's lacking to what's already abundant in your life. It's a powerful antidote to feelings of inadequacy and dissatisfaction. And the best part? The more you practice gratitude, the happier you become. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So make it a daily habit. Start each day by listing 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small. It might seem simple, but trust me, it can completely transform your outlook on life. Embrace simplicity. Less really is more. The Stoics were big believers in living simply. They understood that the pursuit of material wealth and luxury often leads to more stress and less happiness. Seneca famously said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." In today's world, where we're constantly bombarded with ads telling us we need the latest gadgets, the trendiest clothes, or the biggest house to be happy, this message is more relevant than ever. The Stoics would argue that true wealth isn't about having more, it's about needing less. Think about it. How much of your stress comes from trying to keep up with the latest trends, or from the pressure to constantly upgrade your lifestyle? What if instead you focused on living more simply, on appreciating what you have, rather than always wanting more? Simplicity isn't about depriving yourself, it's about freeing yourself from the endless cycle of wanting and consuming. It's about finding contentment in the basics and understanding that more stuff doesn't equal more happiness. In fact, it's often the opposite. When you embrace simplicity, you create space for the things that truly matter: relationships, personal growth, peace of mind. You start to find joy in the little things, and you realize that you don't need all the extras to live a fulfilling life. So, take a step back and evaluate what really matters to you. Let go of the unnecessary and focus on what brings you true joy and fulfillment. You might be surprised at how much lighter and happier you feel. Face your fears seriously, do it. Let's talk about fear. We all have fears, some big, some small. But the Stoics had a very different approach to fear than most of us do today. Instead of avoiding it, they believed in facing it head on. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How true is that? Think about all the times you've worried about something that never actually happened, or all the times you've let fear hold you back from doing something you wanted to do. The Stoics understood that fear is often just a product of our minds, and that by confronting it, we can overcome it. So, how do you actually face your fears? It starts with understanding them. What are you really afraid of? Failure? Rejection? Loss? Once you identify your fears, the next step is to challenge them. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen, and then, how would I deal with it? You'll often find that the worst-case scenario isn't as bad as you think. And even if it is, the Stoics believe that we're stronger and more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. By facing your fears, you build that resilience. You prove to yourself that you can handle whatever life throws your way. And here's the best part: when you stop letting fear control you, you open yourself up to new experiences, new opportunities, and a richer, fuller life. So take that leap of faith, step out of your comfort zone, and face your fears. You'll be amazed at how much stronger and more confident you become. Reflect and grow. Self-awareness is key. One of the most powerful practices in Stoicism is self-reflection. The Stoics believe that taking time each day to reflect on your thoughts, actions, and emotions is crucial for personal growth and happiness. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most famous Stoics, kept a journal where he would reflect on his day, his decisions, and his thoughts. This practice of self-examination helped him stay true to his values and continue growing as a person. Self-reflection isn't about beating yourself up for mistakes or shortcomings. It's about understanding yourself better. It's about recognizing patterns, identifying areas for improvement, and celebrating your progress. When you take time to reflect, you gain clarity about what's working in your life and what's not. You can make conscious choices about how to move forward, rather than just reacting to whatever comes your way. Try this. At the end of each day, spend a few minutes reflecting on what went well, what didn't, and what you can learn from it. Write it down if that helps. Over time, you'll start to see patterns and gain deeper insights into who you are and what drives you. This practice can lead to profound personal growth and a stronger sense of inner peace. Before you go, all right, you made it to the end, and that means you're serious about making some changes in your life. So here's your Stoic challenge. Start today. Pick one of these principles and try to incorporate it into your daily routine. Maybe it's letting go of something you can't control, practicing gratitude, or facing a fear you've been avoiding. Whatever it is, take that first step. And here's the thing: these changes don't happen overnight. It's a process, and that's okay. The Stoics weren't perfect, and they didn't expect you to be either. What matters is that you're making the effort to live a better, more meaningful life. So tell me in the comments which Stoic principle are you going to start with. Let's keep this conversation going, and remember, happiness isn't something you find, it's something you create. Catch you in the next video. Until then, keep it Stoic.